Getting set up. Hope all is well, y'all. What's up? What's up? What's up? Oh, there we go. Bear with me as I get everything going here. And I think we might be good on Instagram. Okay. Hey, y'all. I hope all is well. I know that it has been a bit of a while here. So I'm excited to get kind of going and jumping back into everything. It's been a few weeks. First of all, I thank everyone for all the support to the channel as I took a hiatus, because regardless of whether I was posting or not, y'all were still watching, y'all were still viewing, y'all were still in there. So I really do appreciate it. And I'm ready to get back and jump into the swing of things. I ended up just taking like a social media break. I did some searching, some soul searching, some soul restoration. I did some fasting. I did some prayer. I did all of the things. So I'm excited to get back. And I just kind of told myself that I had to take a step back and just focus on me for a bit as I'm still trying to navigate, school, work, kids, regular life. So I appreciate everybody still sticking in there with me. If this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I am a certified mindfulness coach. I've been doing this for almost 4 years now, so that is definitely has definitely progressed as far as my time in working in this. And this channel is all things mindfulness and mental health. We talk about all the things. We meditate about all the things. So if you have listened to any of the guided meditations, that is my voice that you hear. And every Monday, we typically jump on live and just talk about different mental health topics that are voted in the polls every week. So, hello, William. Welcome in. So I'm excited to get back into the swing of things. January was a crazy, crazy month, a crazy long month. And I am excited to get back into things. Hello, Gojo. Quantum wave, yes, mental health. That's definitely what we're about. More mindfulness tips and conversation. Hi, William. I'm good. How are you? I hope all is well. So let's talk about our topic tonight. Our topic tonight was voted on unanimously. As far as like the topic, I thought it would actually be the one that everyone would vote for, because of the fact of just like the state that we are in. Hi, Alexandria, especially for those of us in the U.S. It's just been a crazy, insane couple of weeks. So I did pick that, and with the intentions of you guys probably would pick that one. So I'm glad that this was what it was, and it was unanimous on both on Instagram and on YouTube. So I'm glad we get a chance to talk about this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 4 steps that you can, thank you. I'm going to give you 4 steps that you can use in regards to managing a fatigued soul. I'll also share, I think I have, how many affirmations? I have 3 affirmations and then 3 journaling questions that you can take away. Hi, Yeru. Welcome in. How, Alexandria? Yes, thank you guys for joining. So we have 3 affirmations for today and then 3 journaling questions, along with these 4 steps to think about when managing a fatigued soul. So first, let's talk about just identifying what a fatigued soul is. A fatigued soul is that feeling that you just are exhausted, but can't necessarily get enough sleep, can't necessarily shake what you're feeling. You don't feel like yourself. It may be um, even described as burnout at times. When you're experiencing burnout, whether it be with a specific situation or just with life in general. But there's a difference. I feel like there's a slight difference when it comes to burnout versus a fatigue soul. I feel like a fatigue soul is just an over that overwhelming feeling you get between burnout and depression. It's like that middle ground where it's like, okay, I'm not okay. I may not be completely depressed, but I know that I'm not okay. So it may be that middle ground that you can't necessarily kick with just sleep one good time, or can't just kick with just one trip to the spa. Um, so that's my definition of fatigue. So it may look different for different people. It may have different levels for different people. But that's my general definition of it. So 4 steps in working through and managing a fatigued soul. First, it always starts, right? This is always my answer in the beginning of it starts with acknowledgement. It starts with acknowledging, but it also starts with allowing. I think a lot of times we have difficulty with a fatigue soul or burnout or anything along those lines because we don't allow ourselves to be. We don't allow our feelings to be. We don't allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling, and we try to suppress it. And because we are suppressing it and we're suppressing it for so long, it just kind of overwhelms and bubbles up in many different ways. So it always starts with anything when it comes to mental health is acknowledging first and allowing it to be, allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling, allowing yourself to cry, allowing yourself to release. Because a lot of times a fatigued soul is because you're storing so much of your feelings and emotions in the body, to where your body is now telling you, like, okay, like we got a lot of emotions going on here, but you're not letting this out, and it's draining me. It's giving me so much overwhelm. And when we're overwhelmed the body like that, it definitely can turn into that fatigued mental drain, or that mental feeling of exhaustion. So it starts with acknowledging, but it also, in that acknowledgement, allowing yourself to feel those feelings. It's kind of like when you put a rubber ducky in a bathtub and you keep pushing it down, you're trying to get it to go down, but it keeps popping back up. It's the same way, and it pops up with force, right? The more we suppress our emotions and keep pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down, it's going to pop up with force. And it's going to pop up with force in spaces that you may not want it to pop up. It may pop up in spaces where it may make you look a certain way and make things more difficult and frustrating. It may pop up in anger. It may pop up on the wrong people. It may pop up in so many different spaces that you don't want it to. So the way that we avoid it popping up like that and lashing out on people and lashing out in different situations is by allowing it to be. So don't be afraid of crying. Crying is restorative. It releases the body of all of the endorphins and cortisol and stress hormones that your body is feeling. And it allows it to come up to the surface, and it's a great, beautiful release. So if you have to cry, if you feel the urge of cry, men, it's okay to cry. There's nothing wrong with men crying. I know us women, we can get into our moods, and we may just let it all out. Not all of us, because some women have a hard time crying, but everyone, it's okay to cry. So allow that release. Release with working out, or release with a scream, release with whatever you need to kind of let that all out. But allow yourself to feel it. Okay, enough of that. Step 2. Now, all of these steps that come after, you can do in whatever format you want. You don't have to do it in this order, because based off of who you are, it may make more sense to do it in a different way. So I'm just going to lay it out, but feel free to do these steps however you wish to, whatever makes the most sense. The next area is focusing on deep rest. And when I say deep rest, that is rest in all areas: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual rest. It is so important to give yourself rest, because a lot of times when you have a fatigued soul, yes, you're tired, but when you have a fatigued soul, you can't think rationally, especially if you're not sleeping, right? It's going to be very hard for you to digest what you're feeling. It's going to be hard or difficult, not to say it's impossible, but it's going to be difficult for you to really think through all of these emotions and feelings that you're having when you're exhausted physically, when you have no sleep, when your body has not been able to restore itself. That's what sleep does. It helps your body to restore itself. And if you're not sleeping, it's going to be very hard or difficult for you to digest what's happening and to figure out what's wrong, right? So focusing on deep rest. If you're not getting sleep for whatever reason, finding ways to get yourself some sleep. I know this is easier for some and harder for others. As a mom, I completely understand. I'm a mom. I work full time. I'm going for my master's degree, and I'm running a business. So I completely understand how sleep can be far and few in between. But regardless of with me doing all of that, I still get 6 to 8 hours of sleep every night for the most part. Sometimes it may be closer to 5. But for the most part, I'm still getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep. You have to get your rest. You have to sleep. You have to eat well. You have to hydrate. You have to do all of these things to take care of yourself. So when I'm talking about deep rest, it's not just going to sleep. It's also finding ways to restore your body based off of what your needs are. So again, sleep, but physical rest can also be taking a step back from things that you know or you're overcommitted to. It could be setting boundaries when it comes to your mental health and trying to figure out ways for you to pull back in that way. It could be, pulling back from social interactions and things, just to kind of, not 100%, but just to like regroup and really kind of quiet all the noise. It could be being off of social media for a certain period of time, just to kind of, flush all of that out. It could be just sitting in silence and quietness, and finding ways to do that. It could be going for a walk to kind of get your heart rate up, and just trying to give yourself rest from computers. Like sometimes it's just like, you just need to walk away from a laptop and from tablets and phones and just leave everything at home and just go for a walk. That could be rest. So this could be looked so many different ways, but finding a way to rest or be rested, so that way you're able to restore yourself. So that's step number 2. Again, if you are already sleeping, then this may not be step 2. This may be step 4, right? It may be something different. So that is step number 2. And step number 3 is engage in soul restoring activities, right? So however that may look for you. It could be time in nature, like I said. It could be being creative. It could be reading. It could be movement. It could be hobbies. It could be reconnection. It could be reconnection with different hobbies. It could be doing something that you always wanted to do. It could be, again, just disconnecting from anything that has to be anything electronic. Sometimes just too much electronics. I say this with all of these electronics in my face, but sometimes a lot of electronics can be just very overstimulating. If you are, if you're working on a laptop, you're always on your phone, you're playing games, you're on social media, you're on all of these things. watching TV. Like, I stopped watching TV. Like, with my little hiatus, like, I really hadn't been watching a whole lot of TV. My TV's been off. So just like really, and then I kind of shifted my diet a little bit for a while. But really thinking about ways to re-engage yourself, and that are soul restoring activities. Um, and then last but not least, spiritual restoration, right? So spiritual restoration looks different for different people. If you are religious and you have a religion that you practice, you would start there. If you are, in addition to that, then therapy, I always recommend, especially when you're at the status of a fatigued soul. Because, like I was saying before, it's that middle ground between, burnout and depression. You don't want to get to your therapist when you're already 100% depressed. Like, you want to be proactive about therapy. And if you feel like you're not yourself, if you feel like you're at a state where you just are confused and have a lot of fog and overtly frustrated and irritated, like, those are the signs that you would look for when it comes to depression. And even though we may think that depression looks a certain way, right? We may have this own depiction of what we think depression looks like. It looks different for different people, especially for those who have high functioning depression, because you may already be depressed but be very well functioning. So I would definitely say to think about what that looks like. For me, I am a spiritual person. I am a Christian. So I go to God first. I start in prayer. I start in fasting. I start in, reading and getting, all of what I need from God in order to build my spirit back up. So that's where I start. But I know it looks different for everyone. So spiritual connection, reconnecting with your higher power if you have one, therapy, starting there, but even doing your own soul searching is okay as well. um Faith Forward, hi. I know this is definitely God orchestrated. I caught one of your lives. I've done and do your meditations a lot and still are my favorites. Oh, great, great. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. Yeah, so this is where you want to start, guys. I know that it's been a lot right now. I say that sparingly. It's been a lot. But it's more so of finding ways to disconnect from what you are struggling with and finding a way to restore, whatever that looks like. When I talked about your why, or figuring out your why, don't hang up. This is why it's last, guys, because I don't want you to hang up too much on the why in the beginning, because the why, it matters, but digging into that too soon could actually be more overstimulating and can cause more irritability and frustration. So that's why I say digging into the why and the soul restoration last, because we got to get you in a place where you can even think. I've been there. I've been there. I'm like, my brain can't even comprehend life right now. And it's like, I don't even want to think about the why. So that's why in the soul restoration is last. Because I mean, of course, with your spiritual connection with God or whatever, that should come first. But as far as like the active work of journaling and really thinking through all of these things, that can come towards the end. So the questions that you probably would want to kind of think about is there a pinpointed event or reason? Sometimes our fatigued soul may be based off of a specific event. So like if you're grieving, if someone passed away, if there was a major event. So like people who have experienced the fires in California, that may be something that would create a fatigued soul. So it could, if it's a pinpointed event or reason, that's the easy way of figuring out why or what's happening. There also could be multiple events. So a lot of times things happen at one time, like you just get hit, bow, bow, bow. Like every time you wake up, it's something else. Every time you wake up, it's something else. It could be that to where it's just not one pinpointed event, but there's multiple traumatic events. And I don't even like saying traumatic, but there's multiple difficult events that are happening that, with them all compiled in the short time frame, that's creating the overwhelm, right? That's creating the fatigue. So it could be that. It also could be where there is no clear reason. And this is another reason why I want to state, like, when it comes to the why, I don't want you to harp on it too hard, because there are some times where you just are at a crossroads and you're not quite sure of why you feel the way that you feel, or there is no reason. There isn't a pinpointed reason that you can say, oh, it's because of that. Oh, it's because of that. It's just, I'm at a crossroads. I'm at a point in my life where I don't know what direction I want to go, or what's happening, or I don't even know, like, what I want out of life. Like, those kind of crossroads situations also happen to where it's not necessarily a reason. It's just more so of life is changing. And I always call those moments as the best point for growth. This is where you're at the tip of the iceberg, tip of the iceberg, where you're about to grow, or you're about to expand, or go into a new season of life. So a lot of times there isn't necessarily a pinpointed reason. It's just like, I don't feel right. I don't feel myself. So that is soul restoration. Oh, and then in the soul restoration, there is also an aspect of a mindset shift. So shifting your mindset could be all of the perspective that you need. Um, Thinking about what you can control, what you can't control, and focusing on what you can. A lot of times we find ourselves fatigued or anxious, or we find ourselves in these spaces because of the fact that we are trying to control things that we can't control. And once we're able to let go of control and focus on what we can control and pour our energy into that, that creates more of productivity. Because at that point, it's like, oh, I feel like I'm getting something accomplished now because I'm focused on the things I can control. What can't you control? You can't control other people. Tried it, not gonna work. Okay? You can't control, like, the environmental events that are happening. You can't control the what other people do towards you, or do to other people, or do in your environment. You can't control any of that. So shifting your mindset from those things that you can't control to shifting it to the things that you can control. What can you control? You can control yourself. You can control your mindset. You can control the things that you do and the things that you focus on. You can control so many things when it comes to you as a person. So focusing and shifting your mindset to what you can control is super important. Practicing self-compassion in the process, because when you are shifting your mindset, it's hard. It's not necessarily going to be something that's going to be happen overnight. It's going to take discipline. It's going to take resilience. It's going to take a whole lot to kind of allow yourself to operate in that new mindset shift. And in that, you want to be compassionate with yourself. You want to show yourself empathy. Okay, like, so I'd be talking to myself like, Debbie, all right, now I know we said we was going to do this. We need to make sure that we do this way. Okay, you messed up. It's okay. It's all right. Let's try again tomorrow. So just really taking the time to be compassionate in the process. Understanding that you having a fatigued soul isn't failure, right? It's not a matter of, oh, I failed and now I have to work myself, or I got to fix myself, right? It's not even about fixing you. It's more so of shifting and changing and evolving versus fixing. So taking that vocabulary out of, I got to fix myself, is important too. And then in that mindset shift, practicing gratitude, finding places and things that you can be grateful for, finding things that you can be happy about, you can be excited about, you can be joyful about. And with all of those things, that will help with restoration of the soul and put you in a better place. At the end of the day, though, you need the Lord, you need God, you need therapy. Okay. So at the end of the day, you may still have to go to therapy. You may have to, seek out your higher power that you believe in. But yeah, so that's where we're at. Start with acknowledging and allowing. Focus on deep rest. Engage in soul restoring activities and engage in spiritual restoration. So those are my tips for you guys. We can dive into affirmations and journaling questions. Feel free to write these affirmations down however you wish to. You can use them even if it's just like writing it on sticky notes, or if you want to record yourself saying them, if you want to journal them, however you wish to use them, feel free to do so. And then the journaling questions, I definitely do suggest writing it down, so that way you can go back and answer the questions. I do share everything back out on Wednesdays of every week in my newsletter. So if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, so that way you can get all of everything printed and all the videos and all of that stuff, please go to haveninspired.com and sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get this week's newsletter. So you'll get that on Wednesday morning. So feel free to do that. But I'll go ahead and share these. Okay, so yes, we have 3 affirmations and 3 journaling questions. The affirmation number 1 is, my soul may be tired, but it is resilient with the possibility of restoration. My soul may be tired, but it is resilient with the possibility of restoration. I'll say that one last time. My soul may be tired, but it is resilient with the possibility of restoration. So this is just a reminder that in spite of our soul being tired or fatigued, it does have the possibility of resilience, and it does have the possibility to be restored. So that's, if you are at a place of worthlessness or hopelessness, if you're already there, then that's already depression. If you feel like there's no hope, if you have no worth, then you're already at the stage of depression. But when it comes to our souls, it is resilient. When our bodies, it is resilient. It can regenerate itself. It can replenish itself. It can restore itself. So it's just a reminder to yourself that you can be restored and you can practice resilience. So that's affirmation number 1. Affirmation number 2. I will no longer idolize my emotional wounds and honor my healing, growth, and aptitude. I will no longer idolize my emotional wounds and honor my healing, growth, and aptitude. I'll say that one last time. I will no longer idolize my emotional wounds and honor my healing, growth, and aptitude. Sometimes we find ourselves in that fatigued soul state because it is comfortable. And I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes there are some of us that find comfort in trauma. We find comfort in the space of chaos because it's all we've known and it's familiar. And just because something is familiar doesn't mean that it's good for you, right? So we get into these states where we idolize our victimhood. We idolize the spaces of trauma and chaos as if it's a badge of honor versus it being something that we can adjust and change. So I will no longer idolize my emotional wounds means that I will no longer put my trauma up on a pedestal as if it can't be resolved, but wearing it as a badge of honor, as if like, oh, I've been through a lot, and this is how it is, and I'm the way I am just because of what I've been through. And taking those pieces of ourselves that are part of a traumatic experience and wearing it as, this is who I am, this is my personality, right? Because when you take on that mindset, and when you keep that mindset, there's no way or no area for you to be able to grow. There's no way you'll be able to grow when you idolize and take on the things that you have experienced, the traumas that have experienced. There's no way you'll be able to grow from that if you take that on as a badge of honor. So it's a matter of seeing your wounds, your emotional wounds as they are, seeing them and viewing them as, this is a wound, but all wounds can be healed. All I need is a little Epsom salt. All I need is some peroxide. All I need is to kind of go in there, get some alcohol, get Band-Aid, clean that wound up, and give it some time and nurture it and care for it and allow that thing to heal, right? But you can't heal it if you like the wound. I'm like, oh, I like my scar. I like my little wound. It's open, it's gushing, it got blood coming out, and I like it. I love it. And that's what we're doing essentially, is just idolizing the wound. I hope that wasn't too vulgar, but that's the only way I can explain it. So yes, I will no longer idolize my emotional wounds and honor my healing, growth, and aptitude. Honor your healing, honor your growth, honor your aptitude, honor all of that, and bring that up, at least level, okay? Bring that up so that way you're able to make room and space for growth and for healing. So that was number 2. Number 3, I am valued simply for being. I accept that with grace and no resistance. I am valued simply for being. I accept that with grace and no resistance. I'll say that one last time. I am valued simply for being. I accept that with grace and no resistance. So understand that you have value. Understand that you're here for a reason. Understand that that there is no such thing as hopelessness. There is no such thing as worthlessness. Everyone can have and generate hope, and everyone has worth. And so understand that you are valued just simply for being here, right? Just simply for making it through life up until this point. You are valued, right? And then being able to accept that you are valued with no resistance. Okay, if what I'm saying to you when I say that you are valued, if that gives you pause, then ask yourself why. Because you are valued, and there is hope, and there is worth to you. So that's just a reminder for that as well. And then lastly, where are we at in time? Okay. And lastly, we have our journaling questions. I have 3 questions here, so feel free to take these down. Okay, journaling questions. So, what does my soul's fatigue feel like? What does it feel like? Where do I notice it in my body, thoughts, and emotions? What does my soul's fatigue feel like? Where do I notice it in my body, thoughts, and emotions? I'll say that one more time. What does my soul's fatigue feel like? Where do I notice it in my body, thoughts, and emotions? This is for you to evaluate, how do you know that you have a fatigued soul? What comes up for you? What thoughts come up for you? What emotions come up for you? Is it racing thoughts? Which racing thoughts is just thoughts that happen really, really quickly. And it may be different thoughts, or maybe the same thought over and over and over again. Is it in your body to where you physically feel pain, whether it be you have back pain, neck pain, headaches, if you have heart palpitations, if you get like numbness and whatever. There's so many different ways that it could show up for you. So if it shows up in your body, what does that look like? If it shows up in your emotions, what does that feel like? Is it super anxious? Is it overwhelmed? Is it frustration? Is it irritability? Is it lack of concentration? Like what are you experiencing? And it's good to really think through that, because once you have established what that looks like and really understand it, when it starts to happen, you'll be able to pick up on it sooner than you would, now, right? You notice it now, but is there a way that you could have noticed it earlier to where you could have done something sooner, right? Being proactive. So that's the first question. Second question is, what does my soul need most right now? How can I honor that need? What does my soul need most right now? And how can I honor that need? One last time, what does my soul need most right now? And how can I honor that need? So understanding that when it comes to thinking about not just what a fatigue looks like, but also how do you determine, based off of when you get that information, how do you determine what you need, right? So really thinking about what you need most in this moment and how do you honor that. But once you also figure out what you need most, is keeping that in mind to where if it happens again, you know what to give yourself. You know where to start, right? A lot of times we get into these states of fatigue, a fatigued soul, and we don't know what to do. We just are just trying to will through or push through, but we don't know where to start. So this is a matter of thinking of how you feel now and really writing down like what that looks like. So not just to help you right now, but also to help you in the future when things pop up, because things are going to pop up. Things are going to happen. Fatigue is going to happen. So this is just a matter of giving you the beginning to your recovery plan, right? So that was the second question. Last question is, what burdens am I carrying that I don't need to hold on to anymore? What burdens am I carrying that I don't need to hold on to anymore? One last time, what burdens am I carrying that I don't need to hold on to anymore? Sometimes with fatigue soul, we are holding on to things that are adding to our fatigue that we don't have to hold on to, right? And because we're holding on to all of these different things for whatever reason, not having that release is what's creating the fatigue. So thinking through, that's the first way to shed weight, is by thinking through the things you don't need first, right? Releasing the things that you don't need first. And once you're able to release those things, it creates space for you to deal with the things that you do need. It gives you space to deal with the things that you want out of life. And it gives you space to come to understanding you, right? Because through this life, outside of God, the best relationship, the most important relationship that you're going to have is a relationship that you have with yourself. And if you don't know yourself, if you don't understand your needs and values and your desires, and you don't know what your limits are, because a lot of times when we come to a fatigued soul, it's because we surpassed our limit, right? We surpassed our limitations and our boundaries. And if we don't know what those are, and if we're not honest with ourselves with what those are, then we're going to continue to keep finding ourselves here. So we start with releasing burdens that it brings us no value. Sometimes we're anxious about things that don't concern us. Sometimes we are over offended by things that don't concern us. We are holding on to things that we cannot control. All of those things are things that we just don't need. So we have to release those things to deal with the things that we do need, which, what do we need? We need ourselves. We need our brains. We need our minds. We need our spiritual and emotional capacity. We need our energy. We need all of these things, right? So if we want to focus on what we need versus what we don't need, we have to let those things go. And I know you guys are going to hate when I say this. I know everybody hates when I say this, but unforgiveness is one of those things we don't need. And I know, I get it. I get it. I understand 100%. But unforgiveness will kill you. It will. It will. It stores in your body, in your heart, in your stomach, in your brain. It just stores all in your body. And a lot of times we're fatigued because we haven't let go of trauma. We haven't forgiven. We haven't released people. We haven't released situations. We haven't, let these things go. And until we do, it's just going to keep compiling on top of each other. It's just like those Jenga pieces. It's just going to keep going and going and going and going and going. And then you're going to try to pull out one of those little blocks that's going to come out, and you might still stay up when you pull out one. But when you pull out like all these 2-3 different things, and then you start pulling them stuff out the bottom or whatever, and then you just going to topple over. And those things pulling out is your outbursts, it's your irritation, it's your frustration, it's acting out in different ways. Acting out may be over shopping, it could be overeating, it could be all of these things. It's coming out in all of these different pieces, and eventually the tower is going to fall. So when it comes to unforgiveness, I know it's hard, y'all. I get it. I understand. Believe me, there's people I do in my life that I do not want to forgive. Okay? But until I'm able to release that and let those things go, not condone, but let them go, release those situations, the most overwhelming feeling of relief comes over you, to the point where you're like, okay, now I can breathe. Now I can deal with me. Okay? So that's my soapbox. I hope this was helpful. I miss y'all. I thank you all for joining me today. We will be back every Monday now. I had to just take some time to regroup and rebuild myself and restore myself. I can't pour from an empty cup, y'all. And with me going Monday after Monday after Monday, I took like a break off for the holidays, but it was starting to be overwhelming with classes and everything. So I had to take a break. But I'm back. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to talk through some of these different topics. And there's new topics as I'm learning in grad school for counseling. I'm bringing that information back to you guys. So absolutely, I hope that this is helpful. So you will get meditations tomorrow morning. There is going to be a fatigued soul meditation that you'll receive tomorrow, and then there will be the newsletter that goes out Wednesday, and then Saturday we will have a new topic. I don't think any of the other topics that we had on there had a lot of votes, so I'll double check it to see if it's changed since I last looked at it, but I'll take a look at that. And again, if you haven't joined the newsletter, go to Haven Inspired, HAVEN Inspired with the D on the end.com, and sign up for the newsletter, so that way you can get all of the updates as we are growing. Thank you all tonight, and I will see you on next Monday. Bye, Hiru. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you coming in every week. I really do appreciate you. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.